My name is Arid Gadish. Welcome to our 9th annual Davos Breakfast, which is about leading by letting go. A famous author once said that creativity can be described as letting go of certainties. And nothing is less certain than today's business landscape, where many traditional leadership skills developed over decades simply don't work as well as they once did, or at all. Today, employees don't follow just because leaders assume they will, nor do customers stay loyal solely through our old methods of reaching them. We, now more than ever, must earn a true followership through a variety of new means. This is the paradox. How do you both inspire and empower your employees and customers while simultaneously driving central messaging and strategic value? We're fortunate today to have 3 speakers who are uniquely qualified to address this topic. From the world of media, Sir Martin Sorrell. From the world of customer products, Harish Manwani of a global firm, Unilever. Kicking the session off is Rob Markey. He heads our firm's global customer strategy and marketing practices.
You know, Amex has a tremendous reputation for excellent service. And they also run a very tight ship. For years and years, they had cut 10% out of their call center operations by becoming more and more efficient. And they did that while trying to maintain their service levels. So they instituted what are called average handling time goals. And they gave each rep a goal for reducing the time on the phone by a little bit every year. Now the good news is that they were successful in cutting costs and they maintained their satisfaction rates in the call centers. The bad news is that all the while their competitors were doing the same thing and closing the satisfaction gap. So in 2006, when a guy named Jim Bush took over the service operations at American Express, he looked at this and he said, you know, we're doing everything right. We've got initiatives to root out all of the defects. We've got all these tremendous procedures in place to make sure we do a great job. And I think we're failing. I think we're failing because we're not aspiring to enough here. We haven't set a high enough standard. Satisfaction is table stakes. We need to go somewhere beyond that. And it was that insight plus one more. The idea that instead of treating this as an operation, a mechanical operation, he had to start to reconceptualize it as a group of human beings interacting with another group of human beings. And the primary goal that he gave them was the number of customers who at the end of the call would say, yes, I would recommend American Express to my friends, to my family members. Well, in the next 3 years, average handling time actually, it went up for a little while. It actually came down. And they cut costs further. Turnover in the call centers was cut in half. And they doubled their net promoter score. So as a result, Jim Bush achieved more control in the organization by letting go of control. If you wanted to do that, what we found is there are 4 things you need. 1, you need a clear picture of what you're trying to achieve, a vision, a goal that the organization is aspiring to. 2, you need to give people guardrails within which they can operate freely, a framework, a set of rules within which they can exercise their judgment. 3, you have to provide them consistent, frequent, visible feedback on how they're doing. And then finally, you have to provide those employees the coaching, the guidance, the support that they need in order to learn from that feedback and improve every day. Ultimately, the goal in letting go is to create an organization that is self-directing and self-correcting.
I personally think that what hasn't changed in so many years is the concept of leadership. It's the context that changes, but the concepts don't change. And I just thought that maybe what I should touch upon briefly is my own experience and Unilever's own beliefs about what it takes to lead in today's context. It is never about the quality of people. It's always about the energy in your people. Number two, it's never about loyalty. Loyalty is a very outdated word. It's all about commitment. And lastly, it's never about sameness. It's all about diversity and the ability to glue people from all over the world, nationalities, cultures, styles, together in terms of a common sense of purpose. Talk to businesses not very long ago, 4-5 years ago, and say, what is a successful business? It was all about, can you grow your business consistently? Can you grow your business competitively? Can you grow your business profitably? I call these the 3 Gs. But the most important piece now is, can you grow your business responsibly? Responsible growth is the 4th dimension. And how do you make sure that across the world, and in an organization like ours, we have 180,000 people working in 180 countries. How do you create that glue that binds people together towards a common goal, but at the same time, embrace the concept of responsible growth? It is really about creating, if you like, a purpose-led but a values-driven organization. That's the glue that holds organizations together. In our case, when we say we want to double our business and at the same time reduce our environmental impact and increase our social impact, I mean, what are we telling our people? We're telling them, of course we make soap and soup. That's all we do. But it's how we market soap and soup and what it stands for in every single market. That's what wakes up people and creates that loyalty and that commitment that I spoke about. Mark Twain said, don't let school get in the way of education. And I always say, don't let organizations get in the way of people. Great organizations are always connected with that one other glue that matters, which is relationships.
I want to start off by talking a little bit about the strategy of WPP. It's summed up in one sentence, which is new markets, new media, the application of technology and big data to our business, and last but not least, a non-word, horizontality, which is, that last one is probably the most germane to what we'll talk about this morning. Traditionally in our business, the best people are the most, quotes unquote, highly creative people. And highly creative people and highly successful people are very difficult to manage. And it's particularly difficult to manage them in a structure that has been created in our way. I mean, I started WPP with one other person 28 years ago in a room much, much smaller than that. So there are 2 people in one room, and we had a coordination problem then. Today we have 164,000 people, and my God, do we have a coordination problem. And the better the people, the less cooperative they are. Right? And every time I say that, that makes the average people even less cooperative because they want to look good. So they behave in unrealistic ways. Younger people in our organization want more exposure geographically, more exposure functionally, and more exposure to more and more clients. They want intellectual challenges, whereas the people at the top of the verticals want to keep control. So we're trying to break this down, and we basically have 2 horizontal integrators. One of our integrators is client integrators, who integrates the whole of the Unilever business, which is very complex, across the whole of WPP. And our top 30 clients are 6 billion out of 17 billion, so it's about a third of our business. And we have a client integrator for every one of our top 30 clients, and we are driving that through the organization. So that's one integrator. The second integrator is at a country level. I'm not advocating the return to the country management systems that we had of, the baronies or the baronets that we used to have, the country managers that made it impossible for you to integrate a company. But my view is this: we have 110 countries. I think Coca-Cola operates in 220 countries. Harish, you said 180. It's impossible for somebody sitting in Singapore or London or New York to know what goes on in those 110 or 180 countries. You have to rely on the people locally. So we have country managers. No authority, but the responsibility, terribly difficult job. No authority, but the responsibility to get our people to work together at a country level on 3 things. 1, to make sure we have the best people locally. 2, to make sure that we're working with the best companies locally, the multinationals or regional companies of the future. And 3, to identify acquisitions, because acquisitions are important to us. So local knowledge is increasingly important. So that, very briefly, given the history of the company, is where we are.
I would like to thank you all for coming. I would like to really thank our speaker.